Okay, now let's continue. Candidates, please note that when you see a yellow card from the timekeeper, that will mean that you have 10 seconds left to finish your response. And when you see a red card, that will mean that you have to stop speaking. Unfortunately, Paul Fromm and Shiraz Siddiqui sent their regrets and alerted us that they could not attend this evening. We still have all of these wonderful candidates with us here tonight. We will now begin with Scott Chapman to introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Scott E. W. Chapman, and I am running for mayor of Mississauga. I am 24 years old, and I am a product of all the hard work and dedication that Mississauga has put into the past 4 years. I'm a product of our education systems. I know it well. I don't own a car. I rely on our public transportation system. I am connected with the bottom of the food chain, and I'm trying to help out some of us down here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Crombie, go ahead.
Good evening, bonjour, Ane, Segao, since we're in the land of first credits. I just want to thank the organizers here at UTM, the Mississauga Youth Council, and of course the Debating Club for hosting us tonight. I want you to all know that I'm U of T alumni, graduated in 1978 from International Relations and also political science. I was actively and civically engaged like many of you, and was president of the U of T Liberal Club in those days. And after leaving university, I had a business career for 20 years, worked for Fortune 500 companies like McDonald's Corporation and the Walt Disney Company, was a founder of a small business, and was delighted to be elected as a member of Parliament in Mississauga, Streetsville, and Meadowvale, and today I serve as a city councillor in Ward 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Crombie, and now Kevin Johnston.
My name is Kevin Jackal Johnston, and I'm running for mayor of Mississauga. I grew up in the city of Mississauga, in Cooksville, and I remember UFT before it was even UFT. I even remember the old water spring down on Mississauga Road. Hands up, remember that. I'm right now raising my own family in the city of Mississauga, and with the exception of 2 years in the United States, I have spent my entire life here. My heart and my soul are in the city of Mississauga, and I want to do everything I can to make it the best city possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston, and now Ms. Suchman.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for showing up. Trust me, we have been debating for the last 1 month. This is the largest crowd I've seen. I have had 3 children of mine came to this university. In fact, one of them is still here in the last year. And I know the university in and out because I've been coming back and forth. If you look at my platform addresses your needs. And in fact, I pledged that I will donate my first year salary to the deserving students who would like to come to university but don't have a tuition fee. I bring 38 years of business experience to the table. If you look at my platform, this is the second time I am running, and last time I finished second to Hazel, the powerhouse, so it was natural for me to run again to be #1. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and now Stephen King.
Good evening, my name is Stephen King. I'm the mayor of Mississauga. For those of you who've had the opportunity to look at my website, you'll see I have a very comprehensive platform. 3 main issues, though, that come to mind at this time. One is job creation in this city, especially youth-oriented job creation, to keep our young people here in Mississauga and have sustainable, well-paying jobs in this city. I also address social justice matters in this city, the level of poverty, affordable housing, the need to give back to the people, and I also address very comprehensive transit plan. I look forward to the debate tonight discussing these issues, and look forward to meeting many of you after the debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and now Mr. Mahoney.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Mahoney, and I'm running for mayor because after 36 years of amazing leadership from Hazel McCallion, I think we need strong hands and experienced leadership to take over from her. Big shoes to fill here every day. It's a big job, but I think I have the credentials and the background to do it. I've been elected 8 times by the people of this great city and served for 26 years at all 3 levels of government. I bring the knowledge, the connections, the understanding of what needs to be done, the knowledge around municipal financing, how we can build our transit, how we can continue to keep taxes low, and how we can make Mississauga an even stronger city. And I'm hoping on October 27th you will elect me as your mayor. Thank you.
And Eric Ramsey.
Good evening, my name is Eric Ramsey. I'm running for mayor of the city of Mississauga because I want to make a difference. I've been in Mississauga for over 25 years. I've bring up my family here. I'm a business owner in Mississauga for over 12 years. And with offices in Mississauga, Calgary, Edmonton, Langley, BC, and soon Montreal. I've taken a small business and grown it into something very big today. I've also do a lot of volunteer works in prison, in the men's prison in the city, because I want to transform lives, making men better husbands, better fathers, better sons, better workers. I also do a lot of volunteer work in the women's prison out in Milton. All the shelters in Mississauga we go to every Wednesday night, which I missed tonight because I'm here. But I go out there to make a difference in the lives of people. I'm here because I want to make a difference in the life of the city, the people in the city of Mississauga.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Seitz.
Hello, my name is Andrew Seitz, and I am a true product of Mississauga. I was born the same year that Hazel McCallion came to power. I'm running because I simply do not like what Mississauga has become. It's a sprawling, unsustainable non-city. Our downtown is a joke, and sadly, after 36 years, our transit system is still broken. A lot of that lies in the way Mississauga was built, planned and built. It is absolutely unsustainable. We do not have the road permeability to have a proper transit system. On top of that, in 36 years, not much has changed in terms of what one can do in Mississauga. The same things that I did when I was a kid are the same things that are available for you to do now, and that's not right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Isaac.
Yes, my name is Grant Isaac. I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing for 40 years. I got called to the bar in 1974. I'm not a graduate of the U of T, but my sister came to this campus. She was in the first graduating class when it was Arundel. Basically, the people that I represent are very concerned that the next mayor of Mississauga be someone who actually really wants this position and is not just running for this because they've been rejected at other positions and this is all that's open to them. And we don't want to see someone run off like Mrs. Adams and into the next year's federal election and cause an $800,000 by-election. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, candidates. Now each candidate will have to answer 3 questions relating to youth issues in the city of Mississauga. The candidates will have 1-minute response time per question. We will begin with Scott Chapman for the first question, and once we reach the end of the candidates, we will then proceed in reverse order with Grant Isaacs through to Scott Chapman for the second question, and then again proceed in the original order for the third question, beginning with Scott Chapman and ending with Mr. Isaacs. We will now begin with the question. Candidates, a 2012 Statistics Canada report revealed that the youth unemployment rate in the GTA is among the highest in Ontario at 18.1%. This is 2.4 times higher than that of workers aged 25 to 54, and that is the biggest gap since 1977. As mayor, how do you plan to combat youth unemployment so that less Mississauga youth are forced to move to other cities to find work? Mr. Chapman, you're up first.
Well, as a youth in Mississauga, I'm one of those people looking for those jobs. But what I plan to do in Mississauga is mainly work with some of the largest employers in our city and just try to educate them. Because if they don't realize, approximately 1/3 of their workforce will be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. And once the baby boomers are gone, if you have not hired youth up until that point, all the knowledge that was gained from 40 years of work experience will be lost. The most beneficial thing for a company can do right now is to hire youth, to allow their older population to educate them and give them the knowledge and experience that they've gained before we lose that forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. And now Bonnie Crombie, you may respond.
I think this is the most critical question for the youth of this generation. We're facing double-digit employment figures with 15 to 20%. I think as mayor, What I want to do is invest in economic development and create jobs. There's so much we can do for our youth. I'm afraid we're going to lose a generation of youth that aren't going to meet the life benchmarks. I have 3 youth at home. They're 25, 21, and 17, and I see them struggling. Youth today have faced precarious employment. They face jobs, but they aren't finding careers. So that what I would also do is initiate the Mayor Youth Job Challenge and hope to create 1,000 jobs a year by incentivizing and encouraging the 59,000 businesses here and 63 Fortune 500 companies to hire our youth. But there's so much more we can do, including, I was thinking about this a lot because it's such an important question, networking nights at MBOT, working with Advantage Mississauga, internship programs, experiential learning, co-ops, early business training, and you'll have to wait till later to hear the rest.
Thank you, Ms. Crombie. And now Kevin Johnston, you may respond.
One of our biggest problems facing youth is that they are not trained in how to look for work or how to even speak publicly or speak within the confines of a job interview. Part of my job as mayor is to make sure that I'm communicating with the youth at all times. We can use free social media in order for me to do so. We can have very highly skilled people in the line of training people on how to talk to our youth through the internet, no cost to the city. Now, the other part of my platform is to completely revitalize the waterfront from Cawthon Road down to the Toronto border. It is going to create thousands of construction jobs, and when we're done with an entertainment district, thousands of retail jobs as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston, and now Ms. Sue Kong.
I think it's a shame that we have 18% unemployment in youth. I'd like to know when I become the mayor, what has changed since 1977 to 2014 other than the population. What I find, I have 3 youth at home, 3 young people at home, and I know it's a lot of competition out there. Today you have to have 2 postgraduate degrees to earn in 5 figures or 6 figures. And this is what we need to address. We need to encourage our youth, our young people to get themselves a higher education than they normally get, finish the college, finish the university. This is one thing, and like I said, I would be very, very keen to put up a task force to investigate what went drastically wrong that we have 18% unemployment in the youth from 77 to now. And then I'll have a better answer once I'm the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, and now Stephen King.
Youth unemployment is out of control in Mississauga. Another Stats Canada number, unemployment in general in 2006 was 6.4% unemployment in Mississauga. Today it's 8.7%. It's gone up 35%. It's unacceptable what's happening. I have job creation plans in the line of transit. I've put forth a plan to put an LRT on Dundas, and we'll get more into the transit discussion. But this will spur on a complete redevelopment and revitalization of Dundas, which will create hundreds and hundreds of jobs for years to come. And ideally, working with those that want to develop in the city and developers in general, I want to propose financial incentives for them in the way of tax breaks, whatever it takes, so that they're mandated to employ the youth of this city and guarantee sustainable, well-paying jobs into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King, and now Mr. Mahoney.
So as mayor, I want to create the Mississauga Futures Plan, which will actually create 1,500 co-op placements within my first 4 years and challenge the private sector to match that for a total of 3,000. I will also say that anyone that wants to bid on contracts for the city of Mississauga, procurement contracts for anything, must have an apprenticeship program where they're teaching young people new skills and giving them new opportunities for jobs. I think that we can work with the private sector. We can increase our commercial tax base, which will take the pressure off the residential tax base, and in doing so, we will increase the number of jobs that are available. A study clearly shows that we have the ability to create 10 million square feet of new office space in Mississauga over the next 10 years, up to 25 million. And 25 million new square feet, that's 100,000 jobs, ladies and gentlemen. We can do it with economic development and strong policies in the mayor's office.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney, and now Derek Ramsey.
You know, I've owned a small business in Mississauga, and I've seen so many youth came in for work this past summer. But this year alone, we have brought in 2 companies from another city to create 75 jobs, and I've seen 75 youth went to work. But as mayor of this city, I want to guarantee you that we'll be talking about this in the next 4 years in election. I will fix the problem. We will make this problem go away because we need to create jobs. And not just jobs, but high-paying jobs so people don't have to worry about using the food bank. I know how to do that. I know how to bring jobs into our city because I own a business. And in 4 years from now, we will be talking about different things. I will be talking about jobs. We will be talking about transportation. We will be talking about these things that we have in our city. We'll be looking at different topics that are coming up that we probably don't see. But I will put out a plan in office for 25 years where we can make things better in our city and get the people working and get our transit going and look to the future and not back at the past.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin, and now Andrew Sykes.
Leave. Get out. It's a little too late for those of you that are already in school, but really immediately after high school, you should be going out and exploring the rest of the country or exploring the world. Now, for jobs, job creation, your future in Mississauga is cooperative. Create co-ops. Look around you, your fellow students. Build a social enterprise with them. Co-ops, social enterprises, this sort of business generally creates higher wages, better working conditions, and keeps the money within the community. That's your future. You know, anyone that's born and raised in Mississauga generally goes through one of the two. You're either a warehouse worker or you work in a fast food joint. And if these are the types of jobs that we're considering, or that are only available, you'll never be able to afford a house. And all these development jobs really depend on non-stop development.
Thank you very much. And now Mr. Isaacs.
Yes, this is an issue that I can say is very close to my heart. I run my own business. I've operated my own law practice for about 38 of the 40 years I've practiced law. One thing I notice is that a lot of my clients have had a lot of problems getting money from banks to expand or start businesses, and if they can't get that money, they can't create those jobs. And a lot of young people have come in with excellent ideas, and again, they don't have the credibility at the bank. I, as mayor, you're probably familiar with the term moral suasion if you've taken economics. I will use moral suasion on the government, on the banks, specifically the banks. If they want to do business in Mississauga, they have to make credit more available to those who want to expand and those who want to start businesses and create new jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isaacs, and thank you to all of the candidates for your responses. We will now begin with question 2, and I would like to remind the candidates that we will be proceeding in reverse order, beginning with Mr. Isaacs. Question 2. Many youth rely on MyWay Transit to get to and from school, and while UTM students are eligible for MyWay Transit passes, others must pay the full $3.25. As mayor, what other plans would you implement to reduce congestion and make commuting throughout Mississauga more affordable for you? Mr. Isaacs, go ahead.
Well, on this issue, there's been a lot of talk of this LRT. I think we have to approach the transit issue in very small incremental steps. One of the big steps, I think, one of the first steps is what Go Transit has done, and that's double-decker buses. Right off, we increased the capacity to move people. We doubled the capacity in the same area. I would go to articulated buses. And I would also go to smaller buses that maybe can go into smaller areas where at certain times of the day there's not the demand for a large bus. I think that that is cheaper to operate. They might not be as timely maybe as the larger buses, but at least we would get into the areas where transit is needed for elderly people also, disabled people, and get them to, the thing is we've got to get people to bus terminals. If we get them to the bus terminals, we can get them into Toronto.
Thank you,
we can get them
Mr. Isaacs.
wherever they have to go. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mr. Sykes.
Well, just to say, I'm against the Ontario LRT. I don't think we should be able to building LRTs anywhere. What I propose is to reallocate the funding for the LRT to extending the subway from Kipling Station to Square One. That's something that we've been begging for since I was a kid. I also propose that we have 24-hour transit tickets. So you buy a ticket and it's valid for 24 hours. That's the only ticket you need to buy in a day. We need a 24-hour transit system because we don't all go to bed at the same time. And this is a major step in order to get people to actually take Mississauga Transit, is that we need to have tiny electric buses like they do in Quebec City that go through our winding roads and pick up people, so you don't actually have to walk particularly far to get to a bus stop. These little electric buses cross a couple of arterial roads and drop people off there, where our regular buses will bring them to wherever they need to go and then again back onto a tiny electric bus. This is the
Thank you,
major
Mr.
step that we need
Seitz.
to have.
And now we can let Derek Rampersad respond.
Thank you. You know, I've got a couple of youth and young adults that attend this university, and I've mentored them for a long time in our church. And one of the things that they struggle with is transportation. Father works late in the morning, can't get out of bed because he works all night, and the mother works throughout the day. But one of the things that they're struggling with, transportation, and what I want to do as mayor is to help these youth and young adults, take some of the pressure off of them. Not let them pay $3 and whatever it is for buses, but give them a break. Give them a break, whether it be $1 to get back and forth. I know how hard it is. One of the kids was working at McDonald's, minimum wage, but only working a few hours a week. And that's all she could afford to. That's all they could afford to give her. But she can't afford to pay her own way in. Can't afford to get a ride with her dad. So she has to take the bus. I want to make it easy for these kids not to have any pressure, not to stress themselves out. They got enough homework already. Let's give them a break. And let's help them.
Thank you, Mr.
Get a good
Rampersad.
education.
And now, Mr. Mahoney, you may respond.
So in a minute, probably one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issue in the city this year is transit. We collect 47 cents out of every transit dollar in the fare box, 53 from the taxpayer. We have to reverse that, and the only way to do that is to get more people using it. The formula is fairly simple. If more people use transit, it'll be more effective, it'll be more efficient, and it'll be more affordable. If we want to give a break to all students and to seniors, we need to increase the ridership of the entire transit system. The way to do that is to make it more efficient, to make it bigger and better. The LRT must go. The BRT will open soon. I propose HOV lanes to start moving cars with multiple occupants and buses quicker to the GO trains, quicker so they can get in to hook up in the subway. And I propose an east-west on Dundas, Burnhamthorpe, Eglinton, and possibly even Derry Road. We're taking a look at that. Increase the efficiency and we'll increase the ridership and we can reduce the cost.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahoney. And now, Stephen King.
I'm not in favor of your Ontario LRT. It's being touted that this is going to address congestion issues. However, when you look at the data supplied in the plan, congestion is going to go up. There will be more cars per lane on your Ontario if we go forward with that plan. As well as Brampton doesn't want it going up their main street now, so it's basically getting kicked back to the drawing board anyways. I proposed an LRT on Dundas connecting to the Kipling station, creating that east-west connection with Toronto, and that will spur development on Dundas, creating jobs for everyone in this city. To address the congestion issues on here in Ontario, I also propose HOV lanes, and with the LRT, I would also propose to have shuttle buses from UTM, South Common Mall, connecting to the Dundas LRT to address those issues. And yes, we also need efficiencies. Today, transit just doesn't serve us well.
Thank you, Mr. King. And now, Mr. Khan.
And days are gone when Mississauga used to be a debt-free city. I've been saying in every debate that we need to rewrite the business plan. You have to run the city like a business where you balance your book. You take from here and put it here. So as a mayor, I would like to write a new plan for the city of Mississauga, including gridlock, because that's a very serious problem. But I always wonder as a voter and as a taxpayer that this gridlock is not new. It's been here for over 15 years, but all civic leaders never addressed this important issue, never came up with a plan. All of a sudden, post-Hazel, everybody has a plan. My plan will include a special task for the students. My plan will include HOV, like Steve Mahoney said. I agree with this. I am a supporter of LRT because that will really help. And we have to increase the ridership on buses. And like Steve Mahoney said, again, I agree that we have more riders, we can manage our budget and bring the price down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tom. And now Kevin Johnson.
I've always had the dream of free transit for students and for seniors. A bus is a massive billboard that a whole ton of people see when they're driving around the city. The problem is we have most of our buses without full vehicle wraps on them. We need to have better sales forces out there selling this advertising space so that we can bring the cost of ridership down, but also so that we can make it free for seniors and for students. Actually, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And now Ms. Crombie.
So the question is, how do we make commuting more affordable for our youth? And I'm very, very proud to be the only councillor to stand up in council and vote in favor of extending the U-Pass to part-time students as well as community college students. I think that would have made things affordable. The difference between a full-time student and a part-time student is one course. I also think we need to enhance our bus schedules. They're unrealistic. I want to ensure that you have adequate transportation and express buses. I don't agree with HOV lanes on city streets. I think it's going to cause congestion, chaos, and I am in favor of the LRT. I have a plan called Mississauga Moves, which is a regionally integrated transit system, which includes many of the things that I've already discussed: all-day, two-way, frequent, and electrified GO. Yes, the LRT would be the north-south spine. The ridership is the highest on that route. A BRT will be completed, looking at the Dundas Street corridor, and yes, Dairy Road to connect into the airport as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crombie. And now Scott Chapman.
I took the bus here. I went on the number 10 to the 44 to UTM.
All right.
And I will likely be taking the bus home. Please don't apologize. But I would consider myself, comparably to the rest of the candidates, a little bit more in touch with our Mississauga transit. I have a comprehensive transit plan that I'll be releasing next week, but I can just go over the gist of it with you now. I am in favor of the Huron-Ontario LRT. That is stage 1 of my transit plan. After then, in 2025, I will begin the environmental assessments to build a subway along Dundas, starting at the 403 in Oakville, going all the way to Kipling Station. In 2028, I will begin the environmental assessments for a BRT along Erin Mills Parkway, going all the way to the 403 and into Brampton if need be down to the GO station. I would go further, but I only got 10 seconds left. So next week, you can go on my website, mississauga.com, and find out more. Thank
you. Once again, thank you, candidates, for your responses. And we will be returning to the original order in the candidates' responses, beginning with Scott Chapman. Candidates, out of the thousands who find themselves homeless in the GTA, over 20% of them are youth between 16 and 24. As youth, they face barriers to income support, education, paid employment, and rental accommodation simply due to their age. As mayor, what is your plan to provide more support and shelter for homeless youth within the city? Scott Chapman, you may begin.
Well, my main plan is my affordable housing plan. And what my affordable housing plan is along here in Ontario, I will make it mandatory for all condominium buildings to build 10% community housing within their buildings. This will allow direct access to our major transportation, which our lower income families are in desperate need of. Apart from that, I will also have it mandatory that all apartment buildings built along the Huron-Ontario corridor again will have 10% subsidized rent through Mississauga, allowing more affordable housing to be built and continue to be built throughout our city, to try to get our waiting time down from 9 to 15 years to hopefully 5, but maybe even 1, but that's just a pipe dream.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. And now Ms. Crombie.
Well, I think it's shameful that a community in a city as affluent and prosperous as Mississauga, that we have 11,000 homeless people, and that 59,000 people use food banks each month, and 17% of our population live in poverty. What we need is a mayor who focuses on economic development and creating jobs, but at the same time, we need to provide affordable housing. So we have a 17-year waiting list for a 3-bedroom unit and a 7-year waiting list for a 1-bedroom unit for subsidized housing, and we can do better. We need to build more variety of housing stock that's affordable. You know, we are no longer this ideal dream bedroom community with the large picket fence and two-car garage. You know, we need a housing that's suitable to meet all our needs. You know, the empty nester, the senior, and the student and the youth as well. I would encourage and incentivize our developers to put a portion of their developments aside for more affordable housing. This year, Council adopted a proposal to legalize and register
Thank you,
basement
Ms.
apartments,
Browning.
which is a very small fix to a
Thank
very
you,
large
Ms. Browning,
problem.
and now we must hear from Kevin Johnson.
Well, the homelessness problem does bother me immensely, and I understand why a lot of our youth choose to stay homeless as opposed to staying in shelters. I've stayed in a couple of shelters as an experiment, just to write articles about it, and they feel like prisons. You've got the concrete walls, everything is stainless steel sinks and toilets. It doesn't feel like a home, and you're wanting to get out of there as quickly as you can. So as for affordable housing, yes, I would like to focus on that. We have affordable housing on the northeast corner of Highway 10 and Highway 403. It's architecturally very sound and very attractive. If we continue to build structures as such, we won't even know that we have affordable housing here, and I do intend to build enough of it to go around. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Mr. Khan.
I have been saying all along that I don't want to promise something I cannot deliver. Affordable housing is a serious problem. We all know. I'm a real estate broker. I get the first-hand information. So many people waiting for it, but I think there's a problem with the system. I have been involved with another project, affordable housing, and I noticed that everybody staying in affordable houses do not really deserve to live. So first of all, we have to fix the problem. We have to look at the criteria again. And then also, like I said, being in the trade, I feel that every builder putting up subdivision anywhere, we should ask them to donate some land or build affordable housing within their subdivision. And I think once the builder come up for this permits and everything, I understand they're asked for land for school and park and everything. Why can't we ask them to give a little land for affordable home? And I think that is one solution to cut down this 20%. The second solution is to fix the system, how you get affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Stephen King.
I keep hearing about this building affordable housing. First, I don't know where we're going to build it. Every time I turn around, I hear about how we're developed out. There is no more land to do all this development and building on. Sure, there are areas that need redevelopment, like Dundas will knock down some areas and we can build housing. I've stated that we need to hold developers accountable and hold them to providing affordable housing. I've put out a 15% platform on that issue. In order to address housing, affordable housing, we don't necessarily have to build it. If we've got $100 million to go build a building, we have $100 million to give subsidies to people and let them live in the homes they're already accustomed to living in. The next issue is we have to address the root problem. The only way to truly change the way the society is today is to create jobs, affordable, livable jobs within a community, and address the poverty issue, which is why people are homeless. Unemployment and low wages needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Stephen Holden, may respond, sir.
As a former federal cabinet minister for Canada Mortgage and Housing, I was responsible for building a lot of affordable homes and providing the money right across Canada as a past president of Peel Nonprofit, which is now Peel Living. I was heavily involved in it, but I interpret this question a little differently. It's about youth homelessness. If they're on the street, I suspect there's a little bit more going on than just not having an affordable house. I think there might be substance abuse, there might be a dysfunctional family, there might be problems at home, they might have been cast out, the marriage might have broken up. It's all about strengthening the family unit. We need to reach out to these young people. We have street workers that work at the Region of Peel to go out, and we actually have those people now. Go out and talk to these young people, find out what their issues are, and determine how we can develop programs to help them. Bringing them into an affordable house is not going to solve their problem if they've got other multiple issues that could range from substance abuse to mental illness to physical abuse to problems at home. That's what we need to address.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rankin.
You know, I do volunteer work at the shelters, and I see youth and young adults in there every Wednesday. But one of the things I do is I mentor them to find out what their problems are, why they're there, and to see how I can help them get out of that situation. But one of the things that I think we need to do is create better jobs, get them involved, get them to be busy doing something. If we don't give the youth and young adults jobs, they're going to be in the street getting into trouble, doing these different things, end up in the shelters. And that's the problem we have. So I think you need to get to the root of the problem, see what the problems are. And we need to create jobs, like I said, and affordable jobs that they can afford these places and they can afford to do the things that they want to do. But unless we do something about it, next 4 years from now we'll be sitting here talking about the same problems. And I'm a person that doesn't like to talk about stuff always. I'm a person of action. I like to make things happen. And I like to make changes and I like to do things. And that's what I will do as mayor. I will look to the problems and see how we can fix them so we don't have these reoccurrences all the time. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Andrew Seitz.
Oh, I'm just going to hammer this out as fast as I can. All new building developments will have mandatory integrated 10% social housing. We're going to have socialized, heavily regulated social housing in basement units. Part of the problem why youth are on the street is that they really have nothing to do, and again, many social issues, but one of them is that they have no self-esteem. So build pride, and that's where social enterprises like cooperative businesses really come in, because you actually have a say in your business. But I'd also like to see Mississauga start its own development corporation so that it can go out and actually build the units, because developers aren't going to sell at a loss. And you know, it's hard to say that a city should actually be losing money, and it shouldn't. But at some point, the social good outweighs balancing the budget. And if a development corporation that Mississauga owns can go out and develop rental units and units for youth as temporary shelters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaacs.
Yes, developers can't be expected to lose money, but they don't necessarily have to make money all the time. By granting them the permits they need and et cetera, we allow them to make some pretty big profits. So I think once in a while they could maybe just break even. But this again is a matter of increments. I mean, if we have people out on the street, we have all kinds of arenas that are heated all over Mississauga. I mean, these out of the cold programs they have in Toronto, we can bring people in, get them out of the cold, give them a sleeping bag, at least let them sleep. You know, something like that there's no need for people to be out on the street and to be homeless. I mean, okay, it's a nightly thing, but long term it can go from night to night to night. But again, we have to approach this in very small increments to get to the final solution. We can't just go to the final solution. We have to work up to it. But there is a solution.
Thank you once again, candidates. I would quickly like to ask that the audience pass along their youth-related questions to the center aisle where volunteers will pick them up. Thank you very much. And now we will start the next part of the forum. In this part, each candidate will now have the opportunity to pose a youth-related question to a fellow mayoral candidate. Each question cannot exceed 30 seconds to state, and each response cannot exceed 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay,
Once
here's
again,
what
I would like to
Claudia's
stress
going
that the question must be related to
Leap on
youth
Mahoney, watch this.
issues only. We will begin with Grant Isaacs. Once he returns, he can speak, but let's start with Mr. Seitz.
Let's see what he's going to do.
I don't know who to direct this to.
Make it count, Andrew.
Mr. Mahoney,
Yes.
if you intend to build 3,000 development jobs throughout every year, I'd like to know what other jobs you intend to build, because that only appeals to a certain group of students.
I'm not sure you understand what I said. I said that I would create 1,500 co-op positions in my first 4 years, and I would challenge the private sector to match that to create 3,000 co-op jobs. I also said that I would require anyone that's doing business with the city of Mississauga to have, first of all, I have a number of things, to have a fair wage policy, to have a good health and safety record, and to have an apprenticeship program so that they can help train young people. I would work with our youth to provide mentors from the private sector to help them understand some of the problems that they're going to be facing as they carry on. I want to just share a statistic that comes out of a report, by the way, and is rather apropos here. It talks about the employment and unemployment rates by education levels, and this is a report on youth employment in Mississauga. It says those with a bachelor degree actually have an employment rate of 73.1%, and the unemployment rate is 10%. The message there is stay in school, get your graduate, get your degree as long as you possibly can. Now I know once you graduate, that I know many young people who are struggling to find jobs. And that's where I think the co-op program, the apprenticeship program, the experiential learning program of working with mentors in the business community will help people get those jobs as they go forward to build a career.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. And Derek Ramsey, you can now pose a question to a candidate of your choice.
Thank you. My question is for Bonnie Crombie. You've been an MP for a number of years in our city. I want to know how many jobs you're bringing to the city for youth and young adults in your ward.
In my ward or in my riding? And I want to really thank you for the question because I'm very proud of the record I have as a member of Parliament for Mississauga Streetsville and the record that I have had, what I've delivered for my residents in Ward 5. As a federal member, I spoke openly and actively on financial issues and fought hard to secure infrastructure funding money for our city here in Mississauga. And some of that funding that I secured created jobs and created Celebration Square. So I'm very proud of that. In my ward, in Ward 5, I'm very proud of the work that I have done there. I created the first business improvement area in Mississauga in 22 years, which really helped us attract new businesses to Malton, helped us retain businesses, and it created jobs. And I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the other work that I've done, creating a shinny hockey league. I'm proud of the work I've done on riding boundaries and to close down the crematorium. There have been a number of initiatives at the city to encourage promotion of our youth and creating employment. I have the opportunity to call on our companies and corporations. I represent 10,000 businesses in Ward 5. That's how many we have located. The next largest ward has only 1,800. And as I visit those businesses, many of them are corporate calls with the mayor, we ask them, what are those issues that we can address for you as a city council to make it easier for you to thrive in our city? And what about the issue of youth unemployment? Can you put our youth to work? Can you create internship programs? Are you doing enough to employ our youth? We don't want to lose a generation of youth in Mississauga.
Thank you, Ms. Crombie. And Mr. Mahoney, you may choose the candidate of your choice to pose your question for.
I'm going to ask my friend Stephen King a question. There you go. So, Mississauga, to people outside Mississauga, it's seen as a suburb. To those of us who live here, we know it's a dynamic city. I would like to create what I call, instead of a suburb, a hubbub of technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. I wonder if you've had any experience in that area, if you have any suggestions as to how we could expand, particularly entrepreneurship for our young people.
Yes.
Like a sheep.
I have a concept to turn Mississauga into a smart city, a connected city, which will be driven by the youth of this city. The
It's going to be
world,
by
and
the
I'll
old
use
white
Barcelona
guys.
as an example, whereby connecting everything together, everywhere you go, everything is monitored. We could turn Mississauga into the technological capital of this city by driving that and putting it forth and being a beacon for the rest of the country and setting an example of how to create a smart city. Here's one.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. King, it is your turn to pose a question.
Question for Kevin Jackal Johnson.
We're getting along so well, aren't we?
There you go. Kevin, I didn't really hear a plan for youth job creation in the city? Do you have it?
Mr. King, I've worked with youth my entire adult life. That includes coaching hockey and every sport that Mississauga has. I've also worked with co-op students, I believe now for the last 16 years. So to answer your question, yes, the easy answer is I do have a plan to create youth jobs. Most of it's going to be utilizing my position as mayor to have influence over youth to come to the appropriate YouTube channels that the city is going to run, to learn what they need to learn about how to find work within the city of Mississauga, and of course, job creation with the new waterfront. That's an easy one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Khan, you may pose your question.
My question is to Bonnie Crombie. Bonnie, you're the only one on the table who is a sitting councillor still serving the city. We are here today with all the youth at the UTM, listening to them, trying to solve their problem, promising them for future. I'd like you to put it on record in front of everybody that in 4 years of your term or tenure, how many times have you sat down with these students to listen to them and to listen to their problems?
Oh, that's an excellent question, and I really want to thank you for that, because I have met with UTM, SU countless times. I don't even know how many. They come see me each year for sure. So let's say a minimum of 4. We've engaged them. I've been at pub nights here. I've come to the Christmas parties. I'm a U of T alumni, so I'm here often, Masood. I also want to say that I was part of the Mississauga Summit that had the Job Creation Challenge. It actually challenged our corporations back during the height of the recession to create jobs. And I'm very happy to hear that 75 jobs each summer were created as part of that challenge during the height of the recession, so university students could have summer placement in companies in Mississauga.
Thank you very much. And now, Kevin Johnson, you may ask your question.
Yes, my question is for Mrs. Crombie. Bonnie, on the off chance you become mayor of the city of Mississauga, what are the fees that people are going to have to, homeowners will have to pay for basement apartments? And if and when they run into red tape with getting their basement apartments legalized, will they be able to call you at home for help?
No, they're going to call you. You're the 1-800 call center right here. Thank you for, this is actually a very important question because the province mandated that cities provide affordable housing and allow basement apartments. And we were in favor of this initiative, but we wanted to structure it so that it would ensure the safety of the tenant. So certainly it allows homeowners to have subsidy for their mortgage, make their mortgages more affordable, but it also allows tenants to afford their rent in basement apartments. But we want to ensure that they're safe. So the ideal is that typically basement apartments must be renovated, must be brought up to code. Now, very few have done that. I raised the issue back in June when they happily announced that we have registered our first basement apartment. And I put up my hand and I said, my goodness, we passed this legislation in January and we've only registered one. What's wrong with the process? So what's wrong is there's a lot of red tape and the cost is very high. There's an initiation fee and then an annual fee. And I think that that's really something that needs to be reviewed going forward. It's too expensive for people to register their basement apartments, and there's an annual fee. And if they have to modify those units to bring them up to code, to renovate them or retrofit them, that's an additional cost as well. So we want to make it practical and affordable for both homeowners and for tenants without having the homeowner go through a lot of extra tape. But at the same time, we want to ensure the safety of those tenants. Thank you.
And what was the fee? How much are you going to charge?
Fees were, I would like to review it. The fees are $500 if the owner occupies the first time and $1,000 if an investment unit, and the renewals are $250 and $500. So you can see they're expensive, but in addition to that, there's the renovation costs.
Okay, Ms. Crombie, you can now ask your question.
May I just bend the rules slightly? I have a question and I just want all the candidates to respond yes or no. May I do that? It's a very important question because this year's City Council voted to invest $1 million a year for 10 years to support the Institute for Management and Innovation here at UTM. We thought it was a worthwhile investment because, of course, there's a huge spin-off factor to the economy, $1.3 billion being generated to Peel, its creation of 100 new jobs, Huge investment in infrastructure, $152 million. And there's precedent that the city invested in also at Sheridan College. But it wasn't a unanimous decision. So I want to ask each mayoral candidate, would they have said yes to the $1 million a year over 10 years? Or would they have said no?
Okay.
Because it could be perceived as a provincial issue.
We will start with Mr. Isaacs down at this end of the table. Just a yes or no answer.
It's very hard for me, but I think I would say yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I'll have to look into it, but maybe yes.
So the economic benefit and the return is 2.8 times what the investment is. I would support it. I think it's a good move. I've met with the president. I've talked to the team that reports. Economically, it will attract
Yes or
more
no?
students.
Yes or no?
The answer is yes.
Thank you.
With an
Mr. Payne.
explanation.
I don't want to get in trouble. Yes.
Yes, with pleasure.
If it makes sense, it makes money, yes.
They just say that it wasn't unanimous on council, but your next mayor will continue the investment deep, hopefully. It's up to Scott.
Yes, what's your answer, Bonnie?
Yes, well, I voted for it, of course I did. I supported 100%.
And now, Mr. Chapman, you may ask your question.
My question shall go to Ms. Crombie. I want to actually go back to Derek's question because I didn't hear the answer. And I would request you, in 140 characters or less, name one job position you created for youth. In 140 characters or less, don't ramble on about general jobs created, one exact position created for youth.
It's an easy answer to that.
We created a number of them, frankly, but the couple that I'll refer to, because I do my own tweets. We should ask if all the mayoral candidates do their own tweeting. I wonder if they do. So at 148, we created, certainly at the BIA, there is a youth working as our part-time administrator, executive director, and certainly at the community centers where I work, there have been a number of youth employed in camp programs. I don't know the number, but this is something that, we encouraged and participated in. A number of counselors and also at the desk to help facilitate the seniors who love to enjoy the facilities at all their community centers. They need a lot of management. So there have been a number of jobs created in my short time on City Council, yes indeed. Thank you very much. And yes, I do my own tweeting.
And now we would like to come back down to this end of the table. Mr. Isaacs, you can ask your question to the candidate of your choice.
Yes, I would like to ask Mr. Mahoney, my supporters are quite concerned, having seen what has gone on in the city of Toronto, of a family dynasty, family compact forming in the municipal government. They particularly are concerned about the idea of the mayor having a councillor brother, the brother as a councillor, and the fact that the brother seems to have been supporting his father, or his brother rather than representing the interests of the electorate. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, in the city of Toronto, I don't smoke crack, and I don't remember the last time I hung out with a bunch of criminals, so I don't think it's a relevant question in Mississauga. But I think what the underlying question is attracted to the fact that my wife Katie, after 23 years of very distinguished service on City Council, is retiring, and our 42-year-old son, a national sales manager for a paper company, is actually running in her seat. So there will be a Mahoney on the ballot in Ward 8 for council, and there will be one for mayor as well, and I trust both have a pretty good shot at winning.
Thank you once again, candidates. We are now going to move on to ask the questions that the audience has submitted. Some of these questions will be directed to one candidate, while others will be directed to all mayoral candidates. Once again, each candidate will have, this time, only 1 minute to respond. And we'll start with Mr. Chapman. This question is directed to all candidates. If elected mayor, would you engage youth in your decision-making?
Considering I'll be engaging myself, yes.
And now Ms. Bromley.
Well, yes, certainly we have a very vibrant Mississauga Youth Advisory Council that currently exists, and many budding politicians started their career on that MIAC Council. We also now have a Mississauga Youth Council, and I have worked with my youth counselor, on some initiatives we have met and we have discussed issues. And of course we will engage. I believe in participatory and open dialogue and opening up the budget process and opening up the windows and letting the sun shine in. And I want everyone to participate, especially our youth. I also want our seniors to be more engaged as well. And I'm going to structure a seniors council to make sure their needs are heard and their needs are met. But certainly I listen to the views of our youth every single day when I come home. 25-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 17-year-old. So I am very abreast of their issues and their demands. Thank you.
I worked for a while as a stand-up comedian, so the majority of my audience were young males, about say 18 to 45. I find that if I don't entertain and or stay engaged with the youth, I can very quickly lose touch with what's really important. So the answer is yes, I intend to discuss very key issues of the city with youth as often as they would like to do so. The phone number joke comes from me, stating clearly to the entire city that you all have my home phone number now, 289-997-6545. When I am there, that's going to be available. You can call me at home and book appointments with me. I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson.
Youth is the future of our city, and absolutely, in fact, like Mrs. Crombie said, that we already have a youth advisory council. Even the mayor has a separate youth council, and which is functioning very well. So of course, yes, I'll be very, very happy to have all the youth give us some advice, join the youth council. And one thing we would like to do, Sheridan and UTM, I like to have an advisor from there in my youth council. Thank you.
And Mr. King.
Any candidate that would say no to this is foolish. I'm going to tell you why everybody needs to say yes. Every candidate up here has ideas and a vision, but it's my idea, my vision, it's their idea, it's their vision. Youth, seniors, everybody has an idea and a vision. Nothing will ever get accomplished. When you work together and you create shared visions and shared ideas, then you have both sides of the issue wanting to push it forward because they have a shared idea and a shared vision. Thank you.
And Mr. Mahoney.
You can call me at the mayor's office. I don't think I'm going to be home very much, so, but...
Third time he's cracked that joke, my brother.
In all seriousness, I've been involved with youth all my life. My adult working life, certainly, we moved here in 1969, raised 3 boys. I coached hockey for years, baseball. My wife has been heavily involved with young people. She was a school secretary before she got elected to council. Beaver leader, all of that. We have worked with young people. We've had them in our home. When you have 3 boys, you always find out that there are many more that come around. Certainly, I support the Youth Advisory Committee, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee. I want to make it as strong as we can possibly make it. Continuing to search for new ideas by listening to young people. I chaired the Prime Minister's Task Force on Young Entrepreneurs for Prime Minister Chrétien, and I traveled this great land, meeting with young people from sea to sea to sea. I was so impressed and so enthused about the people that I met. Now, it's a few years ago, but I know today's generation is equally as qualified, equally as eager to help. I want your advice. I will be a mayor who will listen to you, will try to help you with your particular issues as we go forward. But more importantly, I want you to give us ideas at City Council, and I will be open to listening to them.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney.
One fan up there.
I'm sorry, I'm tweeting.
But it wasn't even your wife.
Actually, I'm canvassing where she should be.
Go ahead, Mr. Rankin.
My answer is yes, absolutely. You know, when I first took over our business in 2002, my son was 10 years old. And what we would do, we would go out every Saturday to the mall and we would make tough decisions.
Yes, people who said that.
That's me and his time together and go out and just have breakfast and we'll make tough decisions. But a lot of times, some of the decisions he gave me, some of the ideas he gave me is very good, and I implement them into our business, and it works. But earlier this year, I read an article in the Toronto Star, where a young kid in the U.S. has shown the U.S. government, how they can save, I believe it was $12 billion by using a different kind of font to save ink. And absolutely, I would engage our youth and our young adults in what we want to do, because they have great ideas. They know what to do. They're in school, and we need to use them to develop their ideas and to implement them. Like I did my son implement his ideas, and it works. I will engage all the youth and young adults, even as I do now in the shelters and in our church and elsewhere. I will do the same, just because I want to get them involved and get their ideas out so they can start being more positive and have more confidence in what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sykes.
Well, I think that we should have actually more council meetings, and not just at City Hall, that we should actually bring councillors and the mayor to various schools like UTM, our high schools, our senior centers, our community centers, so people can actually get engaged, and also have them at different times, because not everyone can go during the day. There's something else that I've got. It's called citizen votes, and that's 11 citizen votes, so it's sort of like a general election, where you can actually vote on the direction that Mississauga takes, because we had this visioning symposium that went on a number of years back, and it was completely static. The answers were already given.
That's right. I got video of it all.
If Mississauga needs to re-engage its citizens, if you participate in the citizen votes, we'll actually reduce your property taxes, the taxes that you pay, if you participate in all of them. Thank you.
And Mr. Isaac.
I've always listened to youth. Their opinions are very important to me. We bring them into the office, co-op students from the community colleges, high schools. We have 2 co-op students from Waterloo living with us right now at our home. I just want to say, talking to the youth of Mississauga, one thing, my son obtained an NCAA hockey scholarship. And a lot of the youth in Mississauga are into sports, and they're very, very interested in how you go about doing that. And I know how to do that. I know the right buttons to push. I know who to contact. And believe me, to get an NCAA scholarship in any sport of any kind, not just in sports, in music, is a game changer. It can change the dynamics of a family forever. And I am prepared to set an office up to help families and young students do that in Mississauga, and I can do it. I know how to do it, and I would be pleased to set that office up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. And our second question is once again directed to everyone, so we'll begin with Mr. Isaacs at this end of the table. Many of you spoke about developing careers in infrastructure. How will you encourage knowledge-based careers for youth? Mr. Isaacs, go ahead.
As far as careers in infrastructure, I think probably in that situation, what we would do is maybe offer incentives to companies that are prepared to offer these positions to young students. We could offer tax incentives. We could offer grants. This is the situation right now. In a lot of situations, we do have an office in Mississauga where grants are available. I directed one student, a law student came to me for a job, and I directed her to the city of Mississauga, and she received a grant through the city of $3,500 to set up her own business, which then worked for me and worked for other lawyers. So I think it's a matter of using the office of the mayor in a moral suasion manner to lean on companies that want benefits from the city of Mississauga. We want something back from them. They want to be here, they want to be in our city, and they want something from us. We want something from them. As I said, I would lean on the banks for the benefit of Mississaugans, not just businesses, the seniors, the youth. I want better interest rates for people. I want more accessible money for people.
Thank you very much, and now we have to go to Mr. Seitz.
Well, again, cooperative enterprises are the way to go. Now, just to clarify, these aren't the co-ops that you get in high school. That's something completely different. The cooperative business is a legit business model where you actually have a vote as to how the business is run. You retain profits from the business. It keeps money within the community, and it generally gives you better wages. And Mississauga needs to support co-ops. I like to use New York as an example. This budget, they allocated over $1 million just to start, just to have startup co-ops and support the ones that already exist. If New York believes in it, I'm pretty sure it's going to be good enough for Mississauga. This is a great way, and it doesn't have to be knowledge-based enterprises or developments. It can be anything. Anything works as a co-op. It's the best possible business model you can create. It creates an internal economy instead of always trying to attract businesses from outside where there's competition. If they get land cheaper somewhere else, they'll just leave. Co-ops are the way to go. I cannot stress that enough. Thank you.
And Mr. Ramsey.
You know, I like to always lead by example. And last year, I took a young man, 26 years old, from prison. And he shadowed me for 6 months because he wanted to change his life around. And for 6 months, he'd go with me everywhere I went to. Wanted to look at our business and how we do things. Today, that young man is not only a truck driver, but he opened up his own business, and he's supplying us. And what he's doing now, he's giving back to the people that he was hanging around with, to change their lives around, to turn their lives around. And so I always want to lead by example, to bring people in to see how I do stuff. And then they can follow my footsteps, follow my lead, and help them in their walk, and so that they can develop and be the person that they want to be. What people are looking for is somebody who believes in them, somebody who will care about them, somebody who can give them that chance, that they believe in them and just say, you can do it. And this is what this young man did. And today he turned his whole life around. He's not the young man he used to be. But mentorship and leadership goes a long way in the lives of certain people. Thank you.
And Mr. Mahoney.
So in spite of the fact that Ford just created 1,000 new jobs at their plant, our manufacturing sector has taken a major hit. And I think knowledge-based jobs are exactly what we need to be looking at. We need to look at new technology. We need to attract businesses, foreign investment. I will work with our diaspora, the different communities. We're the most diverse city in Canada. Let's take advantage of that, attract foreign investors. Look at our job numbers. This is a really important question for transit. The Board of Trade have told me that they have companies who will not hire someone whose commute is longer than 45 minutes. The reason is after 3 hours every day going to and from work, they quit and take a job closer to home for less money. And the company's already spent the training funds and buying them equipment, etc., getting them set up. So we've got to have a city that moves, a city that works. We need to build proper transit to serve our employment nodes in the Northwest and the Airport Corporate Center. My transit plan does exactly that. This will give the existing businesses in our city an opportunity to retain jobs, to create more jobs, and it will attract foreign investment to come and set up, just like the pharmaceutical companies and the big IT companies have already done. We need to go down that road because we're turning out young people out of school who have greater knowledge and who can share that, who have a tremendous handle on the technology. Even 12-year-olds know technology to an unbelievable level. That's where we need to focus to create those jobs, build the transit, make the city work. That'll bring the companies here with the knowledge-based jobs.
And Mr. Phillips.
Today, and in several of the debates, you've heard candidates and citizens talking about what's wrong with the city. This is broke, this isn't efficient, this doesn't work. Clearly, we need these knowledge-based jobs at City Hall. And I agree. We need historians. We need thinkers. We need philosophers. We need to be challenged. And our ideas need to be attacked and torn apart because we keep making mistakes, apparently. By having educated people, we will have thinkers. who will just have ideas, that will sit and have dialogue together and formulate proper plans, proper business plans, proper economic plans, proper plans for housing, social issues. The people aren't thinking enough. We're just about doing it seems. And then even then, things don't get done. We need to start looking at things differently because apparently everybody says the way that we've been doing things isn't working. And knowledge is power. The more knowledge we have, the more we will succeed. Those jobs need to be put into society. They need to be put into the highest levels of government as well. Thank you.
And now Mr. Paul.
Stephen just stole my line. I was going to say knowledge is power, and power takes you everywhere. So a knowledgeable person will have no trouble finding a job. There used to be a time when Canada used to get people coming from everywhere in the world. They were bricklayers, used to make $40 an hour. No knowledge, just know how to put the brick. That's about the only knowledge. Time has changed. Most of the jobs are knowledge-based. And I think, and I said it before, that this city needs a new business plan. It needs a businessman who has a solid experience, and it needs a good, high-profile salesperson who can go out and sell and bring the money to the city. So you've got to have a good knowledge of job to get to where you belong. And I think this is where we need to work on it. We need to encourage our citizens, and the time has changed. I'm sure they realize. So knowledge-based job should be our number one. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
As mayor of the city of Mississauga, I need to sell Mississauga to the entire world. And I'd like to bring R&D companies here. My job is to entice them to come. But also, I'd like to entice video game designers, TV studios, and entertainment companies to come here and create jobs because they all require a lot of staff who have a lot of knowledge.
And now Ms. Fromm.
Short and sweet is great. Our economy is moving towards being more knowledge-based. In fact, one of our strongest sectors here in Mississauga is what we call ICT, Information Communication Technology. So how do I see growth? I would incentivize, I would move towards the high-growth sector and incentivize and try to foster that culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. I would want to have Mississauga to have its own accelerator and its own incubator. But we could do more. We could leverage off our diversity as well. We have language skills here and business networks abroad so we can attract in foreign direct investment to help stimulate some of the entrepreneurial sector as well. I would invest, of course, you need infrastructure in my Mississauga Moves plan, which is a regionally integrated transit system. And as well, I'd inspire the arts and culture sector because there's a huge return on that as well. I think we need to look at Advantage Mississauga. Advantage Mississauga matches need in the marketplace with the skill trainings here in Mississauga, so we would ensure that our post-secondary institutions are training our students for the jobs of tomorrow. I would like nothing more for our students who are being trained here in Mississauga, whether at UTM or whether at Sheridan College in their business program, to find jobs so that they can stay right here in our great city. That's what I certainly like for my youth, and I'm sure those of you who are parents and adults would like that for the same. Finally, we need more experiential learning for our youth in the knowledge economies and paid internships. And I see one of my interns right here.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. We must move on to Mr. Chapman.
I believe the question was, how will we create more knowledge-based jobs in the city? Well, essentially, if you listen to my first answer to how I'll get more youth employment, that falls into the same category as manual labor or a knowledge-based job. But apart from that, I believe in more grants for youth entrepreneurships, because some people realize that it's easier to make a well-paying job than it is to find a well-paying job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just before we move on to the next question, I think it would be important to mention that hashtag Saga Speaks is trending number 5 in Canada on Twitter. So keep on tweeting. Keep tweeting and saying that Mississauga youth matters. So our next question, once again, is directed to everyone. We will begin with Mr. Chapman. Candidates, what is your plan for creating youth-friendly spaces within Mississauga? Mr. Chapman.
I feel we already have countless youth-friendly spaces, from our public parks to our recreation centers. I don't really know how much more I can do than what is already built. We have public parks, we have public swimming pools, we have public tennis courts, we have public running tracks. We have countless public works spaces. I don't really think I would create too much more in the space that we have left to build.
And Ms. Crombie.
Thank you. Well, I have a vision for a city that's a livable, walkable community with distinct neighborhoods that features, obviously I've talked about the regionally integrated transit system, that has a waterfront with creative spaces that's accessible and protected for everyone to enjoy, and a vibrant downtown that's a creative space and attracts people. We are a celebration, we celebrate each other's cultures and diversity, and we're a festival city, and everyone comes together at Celebration Square to celebrate with each other. But we do need more creative spaces. A beautiful new piazza had just been opened up, a big square right here in Streetsville, built around the cenotaph. That is great creative open space, and I think we need more and more and more of that. So there's opportunities, whether they be at the waterfront, or in a band shell, or a public square, or a public space, or whether it be more green space, such as Scholars Green, where people can gather, they can meet, they can share ideas, they can sit and enjoy each other's company and or have a cup of coffee. But what we need in Mississauga is places, creative places where people can gather and people can enjoy, especially our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crombie, and now Mr. Johnson.
For all the youth who are here who skateboard, just so you know, I am a former skateboarder. I've got more than 25 broken bones to show for it. What a lot of my plan is to redevelop the waterfront, as I mentioned earlier, to have Canada's biggest skate park, which would also have roller hockey, cage soccer, and roller derby, because I'm a huge fan of roller derby. It's something that women actually have to themselves, and I admire that. So let's redo the entire waterfront and make sure that we have the center that not just youth can go to skateboard at and to rollerblade, but the entire families will go out and spend their days there. I'd like to surround that with bars, clubs, nightclubs, restaurants, and cafes, so we have that perfect center for it, and run buses to it 24 hours a day. So this, and just every hour on the hour is all we need to do. This way we don't have our youth hanging out at Tim Hortons being harassed by police at 3 o'clock in the morning. We all know that 9 to 5 does not exist anymore, hasn't existed for a long time. So let people go have fun in a designated place at 3 a.m. at their leisure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
And thanks for your class.
Like I said earlier, youth is our future. But a healthy life requires activity for everyone, youth, seniors, young people. My age group too busy making money, so I often see young people and seniors enjoying those facilities. I always said Mississauga is a blessed city. We have beautiful waterfront, which was ignored for years, and somebody came up with a good idea to put up $1 million townhouses there, and now they're improving that area. And luckily, when I ran last time, I had a platform to buy more land from Milton or Brampton. And City of Mississauga ended up buying 7.5-acre land west of 9th Line and east of 407. It's owned by City of Mississauga. I believe it's dedicated, or I've been told it's being dedicated for a sports complex. So we're going to have a lot more recreational and activities for everybody, not just the youth. And this is what the city needs. So we need a mayor who takes real interest. I founded Cricket Council in the city because cricket is the fastest growing game in Mississauga. And there were only one team at that time, Mississauga Wranglers, when I used to play in 80s. Today we have almost 300 teams taking parts, and most of those teams are young players. So I have done my job. I'll do more when I become the mayor. Thank you.
And now Mr. King.
Interesting question. We have Scott Chapman at the end, who's part of the youth. He says everything's fine. We have a bunch of people, a group of us, over 50 shall we say, and you're asking us what our ideas are for youth. 43, a couple young. I'm going to go back to a previous question. I'm going to ask the youth what they want. I'm going to work with them, ask them what their ideas are, ask for their input, come up with that shared vision, and conquer it together. Other than that, it's not up to me. It's what you want. And then once we come up with that shared vision, I will champion it for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Mahoney.
My platform calls for the establishment of what I call the Mississauga Play Fund, which is a partnership between the public sector and the private sector with service clubs, people contributing to this. We need to help disadvantaged youth who perhaps can't afford to get into certain activities, be they a sport like hockey or an activity like dance. We need to give people that equal opportunity. But I also am very impressed with the relationship the city has with the separate school board. You can see it in some of the shared facilities that we have. We do not have that same relationship yet with the public school board, and I think we need to do that. So that's dealing with the active types of facilities,
Now
the
remember,
tracks, the fields,
Mississauga
that
has
kind
been
of thing is being built for
incorporated
schools. You
in
can see it at St.
1978.
Ignatius Loyola out on
1978.
Burnside, west of Winston Churchill. A spectacular facility.
And they're
As far as
thinking
passive
of
facilities for
cooperating
youth
with the
to
public
enjoy,
schools.
I agree with the concept of a downtown that's walkable with clubs and pubs and things of that nature. That will come. We need to encourage that development. I also think that my waterfront plan will encourage the development of beautiful passive areas where people can enjoy the lake, where people can enjoy the beach, they can gather together, they can go for long walks, cycling, things of that nature that young people want to do. I share Stephen's idea too, if you don't mind me stealing it, that we need to get advice from the young people as to what they really see as their needs for the future. So it'll be a cooperative thing, working together with me as the mayor and the rest of the community.
And now Mr. Anderson.
One of my campaigns, I say, I want to make our community center accessible to all. And not a lot of people can afford to use the community center as it is now. And so I want to make it easy for each and everyone. So have businesses and corporations and charity organizations sponsor these kind of programs. But I also want to see more, chess, people playing chess, people playing more dominoes, cricket, soccer, and more street hockeys and things like that we have now. One of the things that I really hate in our neighborhood where you get people who take care of their grass, and I think that it's more important than having the kids be out in the street playing hockey, that they don't want anyone to run on their grass or anything like that. So I would abolish that and just have the community centers accessible to all the kids, and to make it more easy for them to go out there and just have fun and be more, be more energetic and be more fit than what they're doing now. So I want to encourage the kids to do those kind of stuff, and encourage parents and encourage organizations and businesses to help support these kinds of stuff.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Sykes.
Well, we definitely need more green space. Just to say, Stephen King has it absolutely right. We need to hear from you, and our youth council, as good as they are, just isn't sufficient. We need more access. We need to talk more. So back to the green space. We need to have our parks open longer than 11 o'clock. It'd be really nice to have 24-hour parks so that we actually have a place to go where we don't have to nurse a coffee or a tea painfully for several hours while we hang out. We also need greater access to our public spaces. We have a lot of public space in Mississauga, but it's militantly policed by the police or our security.
Yep.
And our police also needs to get out and walk a beat. This is the way policing used to be done. A couple of police officers walked down the street, they knew everybody, they knew the community. That was good policing. Right now they're just running around in cars, and that needs to be reformed, and we can do that with a majority vote on Peel Council. We also need incubators. This is very important. We have a lot of empty warehouses. Mississauga should buy the warehouses, renovate them, create little studio spaces so that we can have art and innovation. And, it's too expensive to rent anything, to rent space in Mississauga. This is vitally important. If you're an artist and you want to create, or you need space in order to create your art, you need a place to do it, either minimal cost or absolutely free. Thank you.
And lastly, Mr. Adams.
Okay, well, when we talk about youth-friendly spaces, I think we're all aware that there is really a plethora of youth-friendly spaces in Mississauga. Up where I live, there's a St. Marcellinus field, which is actually a professional quality field. The Toronto Argonauts could practice there. It's an amazing field. The Hershey Center, again, is an amazing place. It's got indoor soccer fields, outdoor soccer fields, 4 rinks. Then we go down to Iceland. So we have a lot of that, but The problem I see with a lot of these places is that they're not really youth-friendly because you can't walk in there and rent a pair of skates to skate. You can't go to Iceland and get a skateboard to go out and use the skateboard park. You can't get a bike to go out and use the biking areas in places where they have these mountain bike trails. I think, and there are a lot of people who aren't able to use these because they don't have the basic equipment to go there. I think anywhere you go in the United States, you go to Lake Placid, go to the arena in Lake Placid, you can rent skates very, very cheaply. And also, if someone doesn't, again, have the means, they could be just given them. But that's how you let them use these great spaces that we have created.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaacs. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our mayoral debate for this evening.
And I'm happy that my battery lasted.
It is great to be the candidates and what they will do to combat these youth issues if they were elected mayor of the city of Mississauga. As a young person, I look forward to City Hall making decisions with the youth of the city in mind. And thank you to the candidates for your time today and good luck on October 27th. Also, thank you to everyone who's in the audience for coming out to watch tonight's debate and realizing the importance of youth in our municipal politics. The Mississauga City Youth Council and UTM Debating Club have worked extremely hard in order to make tonight's event possible. Thank you once again to those groups, as well as the Art Gallery of Mississauga, the volunteers who assisted tonight, and of course, to all of the members of the media who came to cover the debate on these important issues. Now everyone can continue to make some mingle and speak directly with the candidates, the members of the Youth Council, and the debating club if you would like. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great night.